Estás dentro.
Hello, we are in there. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for attending this new webinar that we hope we will be interactive and exciting at the same time. I hope you are doing well despite the effects of the pandemic. I want to send you a big hug from everyone and your families. All this we will overcome, I think. So cheer up. At the controls, I'm presenting Alex Lopez, that's me. I am the director of Universal Art School. So we will introduce you as to the exciting world to modeling and texturing for video games by the hand of Debbie Size, Supper Debbie Size. So Debbie has worked for top studios in Los Angeles and now is the CEO of his own video game studio, where he's doing amazing projects. So to frame, if you allow me to frame the theme, the subject of this webinar, let me introduce you our school a little bit in order to know one each other better. So first of all, glad to see you our last reel doing by students. So thank you for watching, and I have to tell you that without you, we would not exist. So thank you again for attending to this webinar. So here we go. Okay, I think you can enjoy it finally. So, if you let me introduce a little bit what we're doing here in our training center. The first thing, the phase to go in and deal with the pandemic is make an evolution in our training. It's called the high flex system. So the high flex is basically our students can get the classes through three different systems. Telepresential is like online in real time, face to face, attending to our facilities, and online. This is a different variation from the online. This is getting the material afterward is recorded, and let you have live tutorials, a live chat with the instructor live. So this is called high flex system. So the students can, in order to face the pandemic issue, we can easily to change among these three kind of system of learning. So high flex means a hybrid flexible class system. We can have different feature in order that can have students for learning and in order to not go to one place or stay at home or whatever. We can do it at the same time in different systems, so the student can go on with all the classes and can attend in different way. So we can see a 1 minute video just to check it out. How is working our high flex system, just to check it out. So let's go with the video, please. Okay, so we have to say that we are ready for all these things that are happening around us about the pandemic and all the kind of stuff. So the things we can go on and offer the class yes or yes. So it's interesting. So just a brief history of Universal Art School. Going fast, we are specialized in 3D, CGI, video games, cinema. We opened the school at the beginning of the 90s. We are pioneer in Europe, and I guess the rest of the world, because at that time, at the beginning of the 90s, we were, pretty unique because we started very early with the PCs and with the first version of the 3D software. So we were very excited at that time, starting with this kind of training. We are teaching more than 5 million of hours from that time. So we got a lot of experience in going to the point, and we have a lot of student projects thanks to our students, because we want to get our students get hours in order to get more option and possibilities to reach the companies. So it's very nice. No? So we have to celebrate that. Also, we have international accreditation. This is very nice because when when our students study, for instance, a master in Videogame Art or whatever, the system is an international system, so you can go to work worldwide. So it's very interesting. We are ranked in the first position, also worldwide, by different institution. So it's interesting. We are always teaching what we call the real training, the sirloin schedule. Allow me this joke. The sirloin schedule means no fat training. So the thing is, we go to the point. We are working in a private environment, and is interesting because in a fast time, we can go faster for getting offer the knowledge to the students. So it's very interesting. In a relative in a fast time, you can get high skills. So the things go to the point and working in environment of production. And of course, we have a post-course assistant for the students because we are like a group, like a team, even after the training. So it's important that the student, wherever is can contact with the training with the school after the training is done or finish the study. So it's interesting. As you know, we have two facilities in Valencia, Spain, and in Los Angeles. And also we have an immersion program. This immersion program allow you study in one other place and go to the other location, the other facilities, and study by 3 months, or even the combination of studying 1 year in one place and other year in another place. So it's interesting. Uh, Also, master and careers at the same time as well. So, well, Valencia and Los Angeles, I guess LA, I think everybody knows, at least for the movies or, the environment. And Valencia also is very nice for a study or to visit the city. It's, in fact, Valencia is called the European California. We have in both cities a similar weather, and we have sea, ocean, beaches. We have a lot of places for visit, and it's very nice, both facilities. This is one is the flavor, American flavor from the West Coast, and that is the flavor from the Mediterranean. So both flavor are very interesting. You want to visit us in the two facilities. So it's very nice. Well, and just going on the success of our students, we are starting with the admission process. We don't mean too much in the cut-off marks or in the qualification or certification previously for to come in and attend to our training. So we introduce a personal interview in depth with every student to know more what the student needs, in fact, and if they are linked or if their students are, in the same environment and same level of commitment, no? Face to enroll with us. So we are always going in the more in the personal way rather than the certification or qualification. So the emotional thing, the real person, the expression of the person, the creativity is this intention of doing things is more important for the school more than you are doing first 3 degrees or 3 masters previously. We are more interested in your own skills and in your personal skills. So as I told before, our training is 100% projected oriented practice. It's not practice, it's beyond the practice. So we are teaching in a production environment, teaching in a pipeline, a production pipeline, in order that when you go to a company, you get the same sense in the knowledge, in the same sense of the training and the production. So finally, this training is made for put the people and the students into the industry. So it's very important to get the same mood, the same feeling that you are studying the same way in the training center, and later on you go to a company and you got the same culture of production. This is very important. Also, we have a special virtual campus where all the classes we are recorded, and later on the students can access to this lecture and this material for review 24 hours, 7 days per week. So it's interesting. And we have also an employment system for students. Besides, we have an employment bank where students can access and work for to get the job in the industry. But I think we want to go beyond, and the thing is to teaching and showing the students how to handle with the companies and how to apply, how to make a cover letter, how to reach the companies, and that way the things to allowing the students to manage the situation all the time, have control of the future. So it's very important to attend these classes with Anne, and she's teaching you how to reach these companies and how to do it. So it's very important, I think. Also, a thing very interesting is the accelerator program, where the students in the last year of the master or in the degree, in the career, is not for teaching, it's for making real projects, and it's part of our resume, our curriculum in our training. So the last year of the master of the career, we developed a production-based structure for training, like working in a producer company. So the last year, the students have to do several projects, and it's a rule by the school to finally get the success. But it's very interesting because finally you're going to get a very nice reels. And of course, the structure are not from the from the educational sector or boring sector. No, all our teacher and instructor come from the industry. So the thing is to teach the same language in the industry in the type of studios that in the school. So this the process. So we have a little brand here that is where our students are going there to work. We have here, for instance, an example of one student, Felipe. In this case, we have a lot of cases. In this case, he enrolled in the video game master, video game art master, that is teaching now David size. And it's a very nice example because he in the classroom finally he make a project with a classmate, and when they finish the project, they set their own company. So they launched their project with very success. The launching, and at the same time he applied for companies like Ubisoft. Now he's working in Ubisoft. In the last project he was involved was in the Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So this I think an ideal way of focusing your skills. You can develop your company, because now with a computer or nothing more, you can develop your own project and you can launch your own project. So at the same time, you can even work in your project like a final demo reel, and this really can help you to get access to the big studios. So it's an example, very nice, and it's a nice route to follow. We have also students that want to apply in big studios. Just here are some examples. It's not only big studios, studios for video games, or studios from cinema, or for animation, or special effects, or even indie studios, or indie companies, or even a lot of students finally want to develop their own rule for setting up their own companies. So also it's very interesting. So here's just an example to see the different fields that you can apply. The training that you get here. No? So okay, well, this is the things finally we have it's a kind of new system that we call training routes. I think we really do think that is the future, and the training routes means that the students can choose their own route for their own interest in training, and you don't have to get more information that they are not want to study, and focus on what wants the students. The students want to focus. You want to study animation. You don't need to study a lot of the history of animation or a lot of academics. We focus in what the students want, and the career or the master you can get to the next level, because we have 11 combinable modules that the student can choose in 50 training careers different to choose. And well, this is 96, but the combination can reach close to 800 different routes, completely customized thanks to the students. So it's very interesting. They're going to apply the information about that. Also, all our training is wrapped in our virtual campus. In the virtual campus, the students becomes into an avatar. It can modify, can customize the avatar, and is living inside of the campus. And there we can apply the qualification. We can upload all the material, the videos, and the feedback. So this is a very important tool for getting the online training, because it's one of the probably most advanced platform for training in the world. So the thing, and we are all the time getting improved. It is the avatar. You can have a community inside of the platform, and also you can follow all the classes, and it's very well organized in folders and videos for a preview and for getting all the your profile there. So it's very interesting. You can check it out in campus.ua.school. It's interesting to just to check it out. The teaching structure is basically in the 2 years master is the minimum time we have. Also, a student can study in 2 years the double master in the same time that the 1 year master. I mean the master. And also, a student can choose the 4-year career, or can even study a double career, the dual career in 5 years. And also, we have one career of 3 years that I'm going to talk later. But the thing is, this structure means that the last year is a 9-month syllabuses. The last year is the accelerator program. So in the last year, in the master and the careers as well, the students make a lot of projects. It's 100% working in a producer company. And finally, we have a real project to get a very nice reel in order to show to the industry, to show the investor in case you develop a video game. We have the list of publisher worldwide. It's public access, and it's about 7,000 publishers. So you can expose your projects in order that you can be financed by any kind of investors, or you want to make something of animation or cinema. You also can try to participate in big publishers like Amazon or Netflix or whatever to offer your projects in animation cinema. Is that work projects from this kind of thing, this kind of structure. And also sometimes even we can work for final clients. So it's important because sometimes happen in the accelerator program, the students are making real projects for customer. So it's interesting this last year in the accelerator program, because this allows you to develop your skills in the high level, because you're going to work in a lot of projects with very nice results in a professional way. So it's very interesting. So also we have collaboration with different publishers, big publisher. Also we have a long list of publishers. You can expose your project, and as it's very interesting, the way of connecting with your sector, with your companies, and connect your work with all the environment, with the company's environment. That is very interesting. So finishing our next calls, we have calls in September. In April. Here we have the different areas. You can check it out in LA and Valencia. Now we're working also in online, and it's how to choose. You want to choose some information, you can put in contact with us through this email or phone or whatever, just to get more information. This is structure is the master career, choosing this kind of different branches, areas of training, and the last year the accelerator program is really cool. Also, we have a 3 years career. I think is the only in the world. I don't know if other training, other universities have this kind of training, but it's a 3-year career called the real-time VFX. Every day, the companies, video games companies, is working in real time, of course, and needs personnel trained in video effects for video games in real time. So it's called real-time video effects, and it's about a career for trained people very close to the real-time video effects. So it's very specific career for that, and it's very interesting. This is teaching by instructor from BioWare and Electronic Arts, and they are telling us that they have demand for hiring this kind of professionals. It's not very common because it's a new thing. So, well, I would like to, you can see the video of the introduction this career for this professional. So, Andres, please put a video.
Hi, my name is Armando Sepulveda. I'm the lead VFX artist at Star Wars: The Old Republic. And I'm Jamie Moulton, and I'm responsible for the visual effects of Anthem Live. We want to introduce you to the video game industry, and we want to give you a unique skill set as a visual effects artist. This is a role you can learn to fill, but it requires training and some hard work. Right now, there aren't schools available that currently offer this specific focused training.
As a VFX artist, you are not only required to do VFX itself, so you end up doing modeling, lighting, rendering, compositing, so many other fields, including actually some additional software just to create your simulations.
Visual effects require a very trained eye. We want to teach you the small details that matter and how to troubleshoot. It's very hard to find great VFX artists right now in the industry, and if you're good, you'll be in high demand.
We designed a well-crafted training that will shape you into a top professional in real-time VFX.
We want to give you a full understanding of our industry, and we'll show you all the aspects of game development. We want to teach you how to do your job well, who you'll be working with, and how the game industry really works.
We have been working on this training for quite a long time, and we were thinking what was the best way to bring it to you. So we partnered with Universal Art School, which we think is the best platform and is a reliable business that we trust.
So UA School has educated students in film and games for over 25 years. They have a great online platform with many resources, and they have an expert team that'll support your production.
Our VFX courses will run like a real project. So we have producers, designers, supervisors, and we have also other art disciplines that are going to be blended with us.
Some of the examples of projects might be a real-time game where you get to work with programmers, designers, and other artists, or maybe running through cinematics with directors, animators, and storyboard artists.
By all means, this is not a fast track to the industry. This is a complete training, and we will mold you into a great VFX artist.
That's right. To find out more, visit UA School, and we hope to see you soon.
See you soon.
Okay, I hope you did enjoy the presentation of this special career. This career is only in the online module, online system. So if someone wants to have any kind of information about that, we start in October. So if someone wants to ask about that, okay, let's go. So, well, now we're going to start. Thank you for your patience. We're going to start the webinar with Super David Scythe with 3D modeling and texture for games. So, thank you again for attending to this webinar. And later on the webinar, we have the queries and questions after the webinar. So, anything you want to ask, okay, just do it. So thank you for coming. This is your home. So let's go, David.
Hi, everyone. So welcome to the section about the modeling and texturing for games. So in this case, as you saw with my reel, we have like a lot of experience in different areas, but mainly the focus of this webinar is to show you a little bit what kind of software and what kind of skills do you need to work as a modeler, a texture artist, environment artist, all the roles that are in this industry. And at the same time, a little bit of what our program at the Universal Art School teaches, right? We focus on video game art, but also we focus on many other things that help you for other industries. Okay. So in this case, just a little bit about the background that you saw. So I have worked for video games, for example, for EA in The Sims Medieval, for Mass Effect. In this case, it was a huge attraction in California and the attraction park called Big America. Also, for when Overwatch got released, I worked on making all these digital assets for 3D printing. These are huge statues, like I don't know, 15 feet tall or something. Mobile games, Walking Dead, Chop Shop, also commercials, so like doing like real photoreal stuff. Then also working on PlanetSide 2 for PlayStation. In this case, it was the when they did the porting from PC to the PlayStation. And overall, just like well, lately on the Blue, for VR, and that's how I got started in VR. And mostly, I mean, as you can see, it's a big range of different industries that I worked at. So coming from that perspective and that whole range, I'm going to tackle a little bit what we cover, as a modeler and as a texture artist, and how that helps you in different industries. So then, after all that work that I did in California, then I decided with my wife to found our studio. So we created a studio that is Paloma Studios, and like these are like some of the titles that our workers have collaborated on. And in this case, we're working on a VR game that is called Serpent Saga. So I really like to work at the forefront of technology and everything. So VR right now is like really cool to work on, and therefore that's the game we're working on. Hopefully, it gets released this year. And right now, I also give classes. As I'm an instructor of the video game art program at UA School. What Alejandro was talking at the beginning. And right now, I'm just going to give you an overview about what is to model and texture for games, and also a little bit of our program. Right, focus on the technical side and everything, so you get an idea of what it takes to be in this industry with that background. Like modeling and texturing for games. So the very first thing would be is to make the distinction between the roles that exist, in a video game. So in a game company, you have the art side, right? You have like programmers, engineers, designers, animators, etc. But on the art side, you have mostly three roles. That is the character artist, the prop artist, and the environment artist. Of course, these roles that I'm going to show you, they're really dependent on the size of the studio, on the budget that they have. It's not the same thing in an indie studio that has only 4 people that in a, I don't know, a huge Ubisoft game that has like hundreds and hundreds of people. So in this case, the character artists focus only on characters, right? But this one's I'm talking on the 3D side. There's character concept artists that they actually only work in 2D. But in this case, the character artist takes all those 2D concepts and makes it into 3D and uses like programs like ZBrush for sculpting, Maya or 3D Studio Max for then doing the actual retopology and making the final model for games, and then texturing programs like Mari or Substance Painter to actually make the asset and then put it into a game engine. Then you have environment artists. And environment artists are the ones that usually they don't model a lot of the assets, but they work in the game engine, making sure that they create the level. So they grab assets from other people, like they grab someone modeled the mountain, someone modeled this bridge, someone modeled this lantern, etc. And they grab everything and put it in the game engine and arrange it in such a way that is a very cool environment, that is serves the game design, that it serves the story, etc. Right? But mainly they work in the game engine. And then you have also prop artists. Prop artists, they focus only on the individual assets, right? They can do vehicles, tanks, robots, like lanterns, doors, etc. And this one's, depending on the studio, a lot of times they don't even have to deal a lot with the game engine. They just actually just model, texture, finish the asset, put it in a file repository, and then someone else will take care of actually implementing into the game. I mean, it really depends on the game studio, right? Then of course there are animators, but we're not going to talk about that. But this would be like the three main roles that exist in most video game companies. Okay, so taking that into account, I'm going to talk about what abilities and what skills do you need, okay, in order to like land any of these three roles. Of course, some of these things apply to other things, right? But this three roles is the things I'm going to focus on. So when it comes to abilities, first of all, in order to get in, you need a portfolio, right? I mean, I know this sounds a little bit maybe too obvious, but trust me when it's not, because right now that I have my own game studio and I get applications, they're looking for a job, etc. And a lot of people apply, but they don't have a portfolio. And it's like they're applying for a 3D artist or for a environment artist position, and they don't have a portfolio. They just have a resume listing their skills, or a LinkedIn page or something, but they don't have any visuals to back that up. So very important to have a portfolio that demonstrates high quality art for video games. And in this case, the portfolio should be at the same level of the let's say the jobs that exist out there. So right now, if you're trying to apply to a Call of Duty, let's say like Activision, right, and you want to like work on the next Call of Duty, and you have all these different I don't know, weapons and everything in your portfolio, you want to make sure that your weapons are at the same level of quality as the ones that are inside the game, right? Otherwise, then you're not at the required level that that studio is looking for. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say high quality, right? That it should be matching what the industry requires. So also, by the way, this portfolio that is like really cool is of one of our recent grads from the school. Then also here is high level of understanding of what it is to make environments, props, and characters for video games. So in this case, it kind of encompasses again these three roles, but it is important to show, in your portfolio that you know what it is to make an asset for games, right? So in this case, if we go a little bit here, when it says about the methodology of video games, when creating high poly, low poly, retopology, UVs, and bakes, that when you have your portfolio, that you show that you actually can do all these steps, because I would say like at least 2/3 of all the games that are out there, they do. I mean, most of the pipeline has to do with some of these steps. So if you, in your portfolio you don't have anything that shows that you can do like model high poly stuff, then there you're already lacking that part of the expert knowledge, right? If you don't show that you can do retopology, also that's a problem. If everything that you show in your portfolio is untextured, then that means that, I mean, I will be wondering, like, does that person doesn't know how to use UVs, doesn't know how to use texturing? So then everything that you have in your portfolio must show that you know this, that you have this ability. Then, unless you work in a huge studio, and that would be very rare, like the studio that has like what I'm going to say, but most of the people that model the assets, they actually get to texture them. So it's very important that not only you model really well, but you also texture really well. And when I mean texture, is not just like applying a texture that you downloaded or a material from Substance Painter and then just call it a day. I'm talking about really putting detail into those textures, like really tell a story with those textures. So this is very, very important, okay? Because for games, an asset, like half the work, I would say, is texturing. Modeling only gets you halfway. So this is very important. Then this is something that I really look for when I look for portfolios, for people to hire, and it's like strong lighting skills. That is more on the side for environment artists, because environment artists usually, if the team is not too big, they have to do their own lighting for the environments. If you have a huge team, usually you have a lighter, and they only deal with like setting the lights and creating the mood, for the environments. But if you don't have that level of sorry, of that size of studio, then the environment artist is going to do the lighting. So everything that you show must have like a really cool lighting setup, like outdoors, indoors, really cool sunset, etc. So to give a mood with lighting, even with just simple props like this, it takes time to just present it. Like if you really want to showcase this little car, then you're actually going to take the time in Marmoset or Unreal and put lights and show it like in a way that is compelling. So in this case, strong lighting skills is very important. And this, it would be one of the most important things that I would say out there, that PBR is the most common way to do shading and texturing in games nowadays. And PBR stands for physical based rendering. So it means that all the textures and shaders that you have in most games that are trying to be realistic, they behave in a physical way, like they're trying to mimic reality. So in order to do that, you have to create a lot of like specific textures. You have to create a color texture, a metallic, a roughness, a normal map, an ambient occlusion, etc., etc., etc. And that is very important. And it's a little bit complicated. It's technical because being a game artist is technical, but it's very important that in your portfolio you show that you know this. And a lot of the times, sometimes people put in their portfolio like a really cool image, a really cool asset, but they forget that if I just put this like this, and I don't see the wireframe to see the topology, how you model it, and if I don't see your textures, for example, to show like that you know how to do the metallic, how to do the roughness, to show how to do the UVs, etc., then I don't get to know if you actually know how to create PBR materials, create PBR textures. So this is very important to show it. Okay. So this are mostly on the let's say skills or ability size, but then you have these other ones that are also important, right? And in this case, these ones are most focused on the portfolio, right? And this would be like very obvious and direct way to show it. But then you have all of these that are important, right? To be self-motivated, and that means that you're constantly trying to get better. So you constantly put like new pieces of your work in your portfolio, you're constantly improving something. Then good communication skills. Again, when you email someone, that you're actually looking for a job, that cover letter, you really take your time to write it properly, to do some research about the company that you're asking the job for, that you're also like presenting yourself in a professional manner, but at the same time that your personality comes out, etc. So that is very important because a lot of times I get emails and applications where like it's just maybe one line, I mean, not to that extent, but almost like looking for a job and that's it. But this, I mean, you cannot show it in portfolio, but definitely you can show it in your cover letter or your emails or the way you communicate with the person you're trying to get a job from. Then this one is something that um, this would be something that it come up probably later in an interview, but also to be able to give and receive positive and constructive feedback, right? In this case, for example, one thing that I do with my students is that a lot of the works that they do during the course, they actually post it online on different forums. And I encourage them to do that so they can actually get the experience of receiving feedback. And then also they get to like write feedback for other people, So having that ability is really important because when you are in a studio, you're constantly getting feedback, and being able to not get mad or sad or take it personal, being able to really understand what they're saying and then improve upon that feedback is very important. Then good problem solving skills. This one is tricky, right, to show in a portfolio or in a cover letter, but I think this is one of the most important things that exist out there. Kind of like this one, it will be almost at the top, and it would maybe trump some of these little things that I listed here. Because good problem solving skills, like everything that we do when it comes to video game art, is very technical. Constantly, you're going to encounter either something that doesn't work, something that is like tricky to accomplish, something that is just plain really difficult, especially when you work with environments in Unreal. There's a lot of things that are very technical. So the fact that you can like encounter a problem and then go online and find like the solution, like and just really find and like come up with clever ways to go around something or to fix things, this is very important. Okay. And the opposite would be someone that is just the moment they hit a roadblock, they just stop and they freeze and they don't do anything else. And they are not proactive, they don't know what to do. So this problem solving skills is really important. And definitely, I mean, hopefully the reason why you're looking at this webinar and the reason why you're interested in this is because you have passion for making games, right? that really shows. I mean, I don't say that is an essential, but it really stands out when someone like really likes not only playing games but also making games and talks a lot about them and everything. I think that is like it's a good person to have in a studio, someone that has that passion for making games. Then regarding here, so one thing that in the beginning, when I entered the working at the school, well, I talked to Alejandro and all the people there, and it was like the way we designed the syllabus was based not on like, okay, generic 3D things that you must learn, but focus on what the job market has, what the job market is demanding. And based on that, let's make sure that whoever we teach and takes this course has everything that all the studios are looking for, right? So in this case, when we went through a lot of like job openings and career opportunities, everything that is listed there when it comes to, in this case, prop artists, environment artists, we definitely tackle every single thing because that was the main thing, that when our students finish, that they actually are qualified to apply for jobs and not that they have maybe a really good reel or like a really good piece, but then technically they're not qualified. So this is very important. So when it comes to software, it's pretty much like four software that you need to know. In this case is a 3D program, like basic 3D program. Then in this case, it could be Maya, 3D Studio Max, or Blender. In this case, Maya is the most commonly used in the industry. So if you want a job today, in the game industry as a 3D artist, you should be learning Maya. Of course, Blender is coming up. Is doing really good things. Maybe in a couple of years, it's going to be good and actually good for the game industry. But at this moment, you should be learning Maya. And on the side, for the future, learn Blender. That'll be like a really safe thing to do. But Maya would be the way to go. Then sculpting program, in this case, ZBrush is by far the best. I put Modbox because I mean it's like the competition that exists, but then you have like Blender has some sculpting, but again, nothing compares to what ZBrush can do, right? It's a huge software that does amazing things. Okay. Then you need also a texturing program. In this case, I put Substance Painter. Substance Painter is the most commonly used software for texturing assets in the game industry. Then you also have Mari. Mari is mostly used for film, but they're also branching out into making a little bit more game friendly, their pipeline. So it's also good to learn, but definitely Painter would be the one. And then because you're making things for games, then you want a game engine. So you really want to know Unreal or Unity. I mean, in this case, Marmoset is good to showcase your pieces, right? Like an individual like dragon, an individual gun or something. Marmoset is real-time rendering, but it's not a game engine. So if you really want to have an edge the moment you apply, then definitely it will be one of these two, Unreal or Unity. Uh, in this case, if you're focusing more on art, with Unreal is easier and faster to get more, yeah, to get I don't know, prettier results, to get more higher quality in visuals than with Unity. So if you're focusing on the like I said, character artists, prop artists, environment artists, Unreal would be easier and better, to showcase your things. But again, showing that you know either of these two would be great. Now here's a little bit about the kind of like the progression that we have in our school, right? With the video game art program. So the very first, and again, this is very important. This program is focused on people that you can have zero knowledge of computers. Well, obviously, a computer would be nice, but you can have zero knowledge of 3D. You have no knowledge of 3D, and that's why we start with a very simple thing. Literally, this is the first assignment that we have, a Pac-Man, and this is one of the examples of the last assignment that we have. So in this case, you learn all the basic things, when it comes to the principles of 3D, like what it is like to orbit around an object, about UVs, texturing, etc. But then you take it to the maximum level when you do all this kind of like modeling, texturing, lighting, rendering, effects, etc. into a game engine, right? So this is more or less what everyone does in the process. Okay. So here are, for examples, of how we learn a little bit what we talk about here with the software. when it comes to Maya, sculpting, texturing, and game engine. So here are some of the examples of the homeworks, the assignments that you get. So for example, in the very beginning, we start with very simple things, right? To teach you how to model things, how to get used to 3D, etc. So these are examples of homeworks that we do in the beginning. These are like these are actually like homeworks that we have from students, right? So this is like in the first, I don't know, 2-3 weeks we're doing this, right? This is a little bit more complex, right? But at the same time, if you are already knowledgeable about 3D, then this course is also good for you because I have, in this case, we have different kinds of homework depending on your level. So for example, in the beginning, so for this one, for this week, we had two homeworks. You can do either Bender, which is, a little bit simple, but then you can do Clank, which is more complicated. So a person that is still struggling from the Pac-Man to the Bender, but maybe he sticks with this one. But someone that really make the Pac-Man easier, and then a couple of like weeks later he did something really simple, and like it was like super fast the way he did it, then I would recommend that person, you know what, do Clank. It's going to be more of a challenge. You're really going to get better. So in this case, this would be the one that you would choose, right? And through this and a couple of other homeworks, these I'm just showing you the most, I don't know, the ones that are like the most, I don't know, cool to see. But there are other homeworks, right, that we teach. We'll show you how to use Maya. Then we go into Substance Painter, right? For Substance Painter, in this case, we do like a little Mario Kart vehicle, and then we do the whole pipeline of like high poly to low poly, etc. Then we do the Painter comes with a little sample project that is called MeatMat. And then in this case, a lot of the times during the whole course is we have the ability, I give you the ability to choose whatever you want to do, right? So here is the little MeatMat character, and you get to choose your own topic, theme, and then you texture it the however you want it, right? But of course, it's just to practice substance, right? So again, with this, we're going again, doing all these exercises to reinforce all of these, okay? So that's the whole point of the course, to keep learning all this, because this is what, as a game artist, you will constantly need to know. So that's why all this, we're going to do it again and again. But slowly but surely, we're adding more programs into the mix, more concepts, and it gets more complicated. Then another thing that I like to do during the course is actually to make an actual real contest. So in this case, we have I don't know if you guys heard of the website The Rookies, and they have all this contest all throughout the year. So in this case, we do a texturing contest. So at that time, it was a contest about texturing this little vehicle. So again, everyone comes up with their design, and then do the texturing, the presentation, etc. Okay, and all this to learn Painter. Then these are a little bit more complex, right? As you can see, the progression from that Pac-Man at the beginning. Now we go to something like really, really complex. In this case, everyone chooses, the concept for a little mech, and then we do the whole process, the same thing that we learned with this guy, that is like making a high poly, then you do a low poly, and then you do the transfer of all that information of that high poly model to that low poly model, and then you texture it. We do exactly the same, but now into a way more complicated level. So this will be two examples of like really good projects, that two students did. And again, in this case, the results are really, really cool, right? So again, in this case, let me show you a little bit examples of these guys, because I actually have them here, in Maya. So just to show that little part of the progress. So this is a little bit how we start, with this little guy. Just simple modeling, simple, like just learn how to move around, to extrude, use the multi-cut, then the UVs. The UVs are the 2D representation of the 3D space. And then you just do a very simple texture, and then that's it. Okay. And then from that, you go to something like this, right? Something way more complex, right? But again, it's like really, and this is just, it's like, let me see. From not, depending, right? From not knowing nothing or even knowing a little bit, but a couple of weeks in, like this would be, I think, week 13 when we start with this guy, and it takes us like a good solid month, I think, to finish it, to the level of the texturing that we have here. But again, this is the kind of things that you do. Then also this one, so it's not like boring and just have it like just very basically posed. Then we show a little bit of rigging. So for example, here, we have this mech, and then here we have the skeleton. So we go here. So then we cover the rigging part, and then we actually learn how to rig, our models. So I think it's also like not only like have you learned all the modeling from Maya, all the texturing from Painter, all the high poly to low poly, all the presentation things, but also you're learning to also rig, and how to like pose your things and do the skinning. That is also a different process, etc. But I think it's also yeah, really cool, to see all the things that how you're getting cooler projects, and they're getting more complicated as you go. Okay. So back to here. Then we go to ZBrush, right? Going back to all the different softwares and different like abilities that you need to know. So here we go into make a couple of small projects, right? And then we do everything here is done in ZBrush, right? I mean, we do like it's called a base mesh, and that base mesh that is done in Maya is like a little very simple geometry that we put into ZBrush. So it's like really good to start sculpting with. And then ZBrush is like really fun to play with. It's like I think the students like have a lot of fun when they work on ZBrush. And again, at that point from this moment on, I think even from before, yeah, everything that we do, you need to present it. So it's not only like, oh, I'm just going to finish it in ZBrush and I'm done. No, it's okay. You did it in ZBrush. Now you do the retopology and then you put it into, then we texture it in Painter. In this case, we did the exercise where we have two props, and then we did one that you texture via realistic, with like realistic textures and everything, and then another one completely stylized, right? But in this case, that's like just a cool, fun way to learn ZBrush, right? And now you have Maya, you have Painter, you have ZBrush, okay? And then you go to Unreal, and Unreal is like the final part where everything comes together, right? Because in Unreal, you don't tend to create a lot of assets like by themselves. You really never create a lamppost. You don't create a building. You really create all these assets in Maya, Painter, ZBrush, etc. And then you bring them into Unreal. And then in Unreal is pretty much assembling things. Of course, you can do a lot of final look and development here, right? You can do like the lighting, you can do effects, etc. But mostly Unreal is to assemble things. So, but Unreal is also a huge monster of a program. So, for example, when it comes to that, for example, here's Unreal, right? And here's just one of the projects that you can download from the Unreal Marketplace. This is like, I think, a little bit old, right? But this is a software that, because it is very big, it takes a lot of time to learn. So, for the Unreal portion, we dedicate a lot of time so you can actually learn how to do a lot of things, because Unreal is a program that is being used right now for many industries, for films, for commercials, for TV, etc. So because of that, it has so many tools that you can use. So, and also, I mean, we're just focusing on the art side. There's also all the programming side. We don't even touch that. I mean, we do a little bit, so you can actually know like how a little bit the blueprints work and everything. But then we really then make a couple of projects where you make an environment, right? So Unreal is really fun. I mean, at the beginning, it's a little bit hard to learn because it's very technical. But then when you actually get to do things and take them to this level of quality, then it's really fun, right? Because then you really are making what it would be like a game level, right? So if you look again to these examples, right, of these two, there's again just two students making like a lot of the assets. I would say the majority of them in Unreal by themselves, but then they use a lot of other things from libraries and everything. But mostly, you know, uh, it's all their work, right? So I just want to show a little bit the videos of those environments, because I think they're really cool. So for example, for this one, so this is all. So she did it here, like during this is like the last, I don't know, maybe 2 months or something. Just because don't worry about the audio. But pretty much like everything here, is an asset that she grabbed and she modeled in Maya. Like some of them she textured and sculpted in ZBrush, and then she did all the lighting, and then she did all the animation here in Unreal, etc. And this is also your pitch. You pitch me the idea of like in this case, this is a vampire coven, right? And then she has tons of references, and then we do the designing of the level and everything. You tell the story, so it's like very creative, the whole course. And in this case, I mean, it would be a little bit different from what you would work in the industry in the sense of like we go through the same technical steps when it comes to doing the blocking, the gray boxing, and then you do the different assets, and then you do lighting and everything. But in this case, it's your own idea. Usually in the game industry, it's like you have the game designers, and then you have the little artists, and you have the concept artists that are telling you exactly what it's supposed to look like, how it's supposed to work, and then you get to make it. But you're like most of the times like working on someone else's vision. But in this case, I think it's like a really cool project. This is the final project that you get to do in the end, because everything you do here is your own idea. So this is one of them. And again, and this is up to you how realistic or how much fantasy you want to make it. So this one is very like fantasy, but then you have this one, right? That this one is more realistic. So it's just a little bit. It's like a science fiction take on a square in Portugal. So in this case, I mean, the cars are floating, the windows are a little bit sci-fi, high tech. So let me see it from the beginning. See, so pretty much like here is like, again, a lot of things are his own design. And for example, that statue he sculpted, a lot of the little vehicles and everything he did and everything. So it's like just putting everything that you have learned and actually get to make it, right? Just practice it and make it. So in this case, there's less of learning and more like actually just producing. Okay. So again, these are like a couple of examples for that. Then if we go back to our presentation. So by then, this whole like course is like last 9 months. So in my 9 months, you went, like I said, from this to this, right? So it's a lot of information to take in, right? But the whole point is that at the end, you come out with learning all this. So now you have all the abilities and all the skills to learn how to do all these jobs. Then, of course, later comes the accelerator, and then you work on real projects and you collaborate with other like types of roles like programmers, designers, etc. But by the end of this video game art course, then you know how to do all this. Okay. Now, a couple of things that questions, that they ask me when we're going through the course, right? So, for example, one big question that they always ask me is, uh, in order to work in the game industry, that if it's a requirement to play games, you know, and a lot of times it depends, right? Like usually, like my answer that frustrates my students is always it depends, because there's no absolutes, I would say, in this industry, you know. But for example, in certain companies, they really care that you play their games, and it really matters. For example, Riot Games, you must play League of Legends. If you don't play League of Legends, they are not going to hire you. Like they even ask you in their application to give them your username on like for League of Legends, so they can actually see your profile, see like everything. So actually, they really care that you play their games. Then you have, for example, other companies like Blizzard. Blizzard, or for example, when I worked at EA, same thing. They don't care if you play their games. If you're an artist and you know how to do art, like I like to do really cool tanks or vehicles, and I'm the most amazing at that, and they hire me to make the next Battlefield, and then that's it. They don't care if I play the game or not. But Here's also another part of that same question. That is, well, the same answer. That is, if you play their games, then a lot of the times you are more useful to the company. It's not required, right? But if, for example, if you're making, it happened to me when I worked at EA at The Sims, that I don't play The Sims. I honestly don't like the games. But the thing that happened is like I went to some meetings, right? And they were asking, like, oh, we're thinking about this new asset that we want to make and ideas, right? And I would say a couple of ideas. And so by the time I was playing there, I was working there, it was for Sims 4. So there have been a lot of Sims before and DLCs and tons of content. So a lot of things that I would say is like, like someone already like had tons of years working there and like played the Sims. It's like, no, you know what? We already did that in Sims 2 expansion, whatever. It's like, oh, okay, fine. And then I would say another suggestion. And then it would say like, oh no, you know what? We already did that in Sims 3, yada yada yada. So I was like, oh man, this is frustrating. And then I would see that my lack of playing The Sims was kind of like hurting me in the way that I mean, no one was like laughing or anything, but I wasn't that useful at that meeting because of that. And also, then you have the other side about that it's easier to integrate into the company if you play games, right? Because, for example, in this case, my wife, she worked at Blizzard and she doesn't play MMOs. So a lot of times during the breaks, people will be just like having lunch or whatever, and a lot of the conversations were about like MMOs or about WoW, and she would be completely lost, right? And again, she likes other types of games. She likes like Mass Effect, she likes Gears of War. So in this case, if she had known a lot of those games, maybe she would have like integrated easier into the company, and she would have made friends faster, right? So that would be like a something else to consider, right? But definitely it's not necessary, right? When it comes to an artist, it does help. Another thing in another way is with communicating, right? Because for example, right now when we're making my game, with Paloma Studios, when you communicate to someone, it's like, you know what, I want to make this like cool, I don't know, dragon, and then you say, okay, what about that dragon in Skyrim? When you fight him in this section, etc. And then, or in Dragon Age Origins, remember that dragon that did this, etc. And if the other person knows that game, plays that game, then you're on the same page, and it's easier sometimes to communicate because you both have the same examples, you share the same knowledge. And again, if that person didn't know games or didn't play games, then it will be a little bit harder to communicate. So there's like an advantage to that. Okay. Then I think that will be a little bit the overall thing about this talk. It's a little bit of an intro, of what we do at our school, a little bit of an intro of what a modeling texture artist would have in the game industry. And mostly, I hope that you. This is. I didn't want to get too technical because, of course, this topic can be really technical. But I want it to be mostly an overview because if there's something I've seen is that there's a lot of people that are either just finishing a certain school or they're curious about entering the game industry and they don't know anything about it. They don't know, and again, I don't want to like bog you with all the technical things, but at least give you an overview of what would entail to be a game artist, to be a prop artist. So for example, if you were a prop artist, but maybe you would be literally doing there's guys like this, like every day, someone will give you a concept art and then you'll be modeling this guy, and then you would be, I don't know, 3 weeks working on this character, would be like modeling and then doing the UVs and then doing the texturing every day, 9 to 5. So by looking at this and just with this webinar, then you can see yourself and ask yourself, like, do you want to be working on the same thing, on a character like this for 3 weeks? If that sounds awesome, then you're in, then you should really look like into it and like, I don't know, get into this industry, like join our program or something like that, right? Or in this case, I don't want to focus on props. For example, I thought that it was just one person that did these two things, or one person that did these three things. I want to focus more on environments. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, then you know what? Maybe right now, like you should be looking into Unreal. Unreal is free, for example. You can download it, start looking into it. And of course, there's a lot you can learn on your own. But in this case, because here I'm guiding you with things that I've already done in the industry by working at EA, Sony, all those studios, then you come out a little bit better, and like you reach the same result faster without making many mistakes, right? So in this case, again, you can start playing with Unreal and say, you know what, this like looks really fun, like to play with these things, and then like look at the characters and look at how you do things. I don't know, it could be really cool to work with the software, right? So again, this would be something that you would be doing a lot if you're doing environment art, right? And again, so all these things is just an overview, right? Definitely one thing important to consider if you're going for this industry is that I wouldn't say is 50-50 when it comes to artistic and technical. I would say it's mostly maybe 70% artistic, 30% technical. But the good thing is that the tools, all the software that they keep improving and they keep making better, it's making the technical side way easier. So even if you struggle a little bit on the technical side, know that it's going to get better and it's going to get easier as you go along. So at the same time, I wanted to let you know with this webinar that do not be intimidated by the technical side, because definitely you get to be very creative. And the whole thing about making UVs, that people hate, surprisingly, I really enjoy, or making all the different materials that you have to do, for example, in Unreal, and then you have to do all this. People are like, oh my God, this is like super technical. This is like actually rather simple. But all these things, they're getting easier, they're getting faster. And again, they're not that difficult to learn. But and in the end, it's like if you really want to make games, you want to be on the art side of games, it's really fun. And playing with the tools, yes, a couple of weeks you struggle, maybe a month, but then you get to do, really cool things, like look at the couple of things that you could be doing, within a couple of weeks, from this, cool like models to really cool texturing to really cool assets and then rigging them, just kind of like a big overview about this. So hopefully, you got to learn a little bit, what it is to model and texture, for the game industry, the things that they're going to be looking out for when you're going to look for a job, and mostly what you need to know, right? And also you got like a little bit of a sample of what we teach here at the school. And again, here I am for questions. But again, if you saw me on like socials like Twitter, Facebook, etc., you can always like ask me things, because I really like. I mean, part of the reason of why I give classes is because I really like to share, all this information and share all this knowledge. I really have fun teaching. So yeah, hopefully you learned a lot. And yeah, let's go now to the question section. So Andres, questions.
Hi, we are back. Now we have the round of queries and questions. So go ahead. I don't know if we have a first question here from me too. I study graphic design. Is there no problem or restriction for Master of Game Design? Do you want to answer David, or?
Yeah, I think we have like recently we opened at the school a game design program. So yeah, you can definitely like look into that. It's like really cool, and it's like again with people from the industry. So you should totally check it out. We have a game design program.
Yeah, sure. The game design program tends to be for students who want to tell a story. I mean, a tell a story in the video game is like having a basic knowledge of an engine like Unreal Engine or Unity, and it is how to deal and think with the project. So it's a very interesting area for study. So you're studying graphic design, okay? Yeah, why not? So because I mean the game design is very difficult to have a background before. I mean of going to the game design, because you have to study what before engineering, or I don't know. It's a very new sector, the game design, and it's about more to focus with the concept and developing all the the routines of making how to deal with the idea of a video game. So it's very philosophical, master or area of studies, and also have a technical part. But it's very interesting, whole deal. And we have a teacher from Sega, other companies have to. They are teaching you the area of the the some tricks for developing a nice video game. So it's very interesting. So yeah, you come from the game design background. Yes, sure. Also, Michu is telling us that is asking. Also, I would like to know if you have courses online to practice before the master. Well, I can tell you something very specific, but first, I'm going to. If someone want to write me, I'm going to put you my direct email. And you want to write me back here, and I can propose you something very interesting for getting a pre knowledge of our training, and it's a very nice option. I have to tell you more in private if you allow me, but it's very nice. Also, hi and say hello, meet you, Rivadeneira, Master Kenobi. Sure, or the Master of the Universe. Eva, how much does it cost to study in here? Well, we have different prices. I mean, because we have three different sort of training. We have the face-to-face. I mean, in on-site here in Valencia or here in LA. We have the online. We have the telepresential. Telepresential and online, both are online systems, but the online is with accessing to the recording material done by the teacher, and you have a live tutorials, a live conversation with the teacher, and the telepresential is online by real time. I mean, the telepresential is like attending to the class, to the real class, to the face-to-face real class, but through the computer. So there are three different prices. So we can write us tell the different prices, because they depend. Also, we have different prices for master and careers. A lot of stuff there to get more in depth to explain. But so Eva, write us whatever. Alba Diaz, do you teach on campus in Valencia? Yeah, we are teaching. We are also combining telepresential, online, and face-to-face. Also depend on the month, the week, depending on the season, because we are also putting attention in the confining people with the COVID and the pandemic. We are working and teaching in some ways. So people attend to the facilities in Valencia or in LA, There is any kind of rule for the government. We have to close the place because we have to avoid the pandemic and this kind of stuff around. So we automatically we keep going the classes in online. So we don't have any problem with that. So of course we are teaching here in Valencia. We are in face to face. We are teaching from all the week. And if we have any problem with the confining people, we students sometimes attend one time per week, or depend on the the moment with the pandemic. So, but now I think we have a complete 100% face-to-face training in both campuses. And Melon Lover, if it is real to reach good results after this program if I have no artistic background whatsoever, but willing to create games and works hard. I think this is for you, David.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's, like I said before, right? There's quite a few students that enter the program with absolutely no knowledge of 3D, right? And a lot of the times, I mean, they get, I don't know, by week 5, kind of like everyone becomes equal in level. Yes, some of them are better and some of them are a little bit less, but everyone can reach the same like level of quality, I would say. I mean, everything, like you said, it depends on working hard. So if you work hard, even if you have zero knowledge, you will definitely have some really cool portfolio in the end. That's for sure. Because again, we start with very, very simple stuff. Like I said, with this Pac-Man, it's super simple, but then it gets to this. So everyone that either knows a little or knows nothing will reach something very similar to this level and have a good portfolio. So definitely, yeah, it shouldn't be a problem.
Well, yeah. The thing is, I think in all our training, we start from zero level because if you have background, artistic background, it's okay. But I think we have to democratize the training. The thing is to offer a training that everybody can follow and everybody can roll with the flow and be in the same level. So if you come from zero level of background in artistic environment, you can have working, getting going to the graduate level and have more skills. So it's something that you have to learn. So you can learn before or here during the training. So okay. And Eva is asking us, hi, him French, and I would like to study in your university. Is this possible? Do you mean that you're from France or I don't know exactly? We here in LA and in Valencia, we have people all around the world. So can people from Canada, France, Italy, UK, from Spain, Africa, Latin America, the whole world, because it's the same language, the technology. So people all around the world is interested in studying these kind of things. So if you're asking that you are from France, yes, of course we have people from France. So of course, I mean here you can study in English or you study in Spain Spanish too, or but it's the same because both in Valencia and LA we are teaching, and in LA it's in English, but here in Spain we are teaching in Spanish and in English at the same time. So depending on the group, you have to take into account that the classes are no more than 12 people per class. So it's small groups, so we can customize and personalize the training. So that's the point. Subhash is asking us, what kind of portfolio do you require for game design? Can you show more example, David?
Well, that's a whole different topic, right? Because the game design role is different. So a game designer would not be making any art, right? So in that case, just keep in mind that's why I have here on the webinar this section, right? So here, as you can see, I don't have a game designer because they focus more on like mission design, balancing, storytelling, etc. But they would never make a gun, or they would never make like a whole environment. So just keep that in mind, Shubash, that it would be like a different role.
Sure, I think that the question is not the same, but it's close to the first one. As Shatak, we would like to know what would be the minimum portfolio requirement for game design. focus on environment artists.
See, again, those it's kind of the same thing, right? That it's important to make the distinction, Sartak, that environment artists and game designers are completely different people. I mean, if you have a big studio, well, there would be like the designers would be in a completely different area, and then the environment artists would be part of the art side. And then each of them would communicate, but each of them would have different roles, right? The environment artist would focus on creating the levels and making the art and everything. And the game designer would make about the decisions, sorry, the design of the missions, like the whole actually gameplay elements. And if you have like a really, really tiny studio, maybe in a really small studio, then you maybe have the game designer that makes environment art, but usually they're separate. So that's why when you put like game design in parentheses environment artist, it's very, very different. So in this case, because based on the other answers that we gave, that we focus on the beginning to start from zero. So you really don't need a minimum portfolio to start the school. You just have the want, that you want to like get started with this, and that's it. We take you all through like level 0 to the end.
Yeah, sure. I'm always asking about the minimum portfolio requirement. I think that one of the things you have to take a glance is what kind of project is that companies is doing. I mean, if you apply for a small company or for a an apps mobile video games or something more easygoing. Depending on the level of the company, you have to focus your effort in creating this kind of standard. So you are going to apply to a big company, you have to take a glance into the project that they are doing because as better is better, no, to get a job. But I think you have to also to pay attention in what kind of project are working and developing these kind of companies to reach this kind of level. If you are working for a cartoon or you do like to make cartoon style, so then it's more interesting that you apply for cartoons styles company, or you are working for a more AAA company. It's important to develop an environment, in this case, similar or they have a certain look like this studio, because I think probably in the job interview, the human resources can identify your art with the company. So it's always take a glance, take a look in the project that you do in the companies when you are applying. It's important. Jose, BP is you a school do in UA do we learn to work with concept artists, coders? Interesting question. In that case, which are the most common problems that the people have when they communicate with the concept artists? Interesting question.
So, I mean, definitely, for example, in the very beginning, there's a couple of projects that we start from a concept, right? So, for example, the mechs, we don't design them, right? So I ask them to find concept art, and then we create them. And usually, a lot of the times when they make, I mean, this would be a very particular example, but when people, concept artists make mechanical things, a lot of the times they don't think on the functionality of things, of how a shoulder is going to rotate, how a leg is going to rotate. It's going to look awesome in the concept, but then when the 3D artist starts to make it, it's like, you know what, this guy needs to walk, needs to run, so I need to put joints, I need to put things that actually make it like move. And that will be a common thing, that a lot of times concept artists, because they make something awesome, and again, that's their job, they don't thinking about sometimes about the functionality of it. So when it comes to 3D, now we have to make it functional for other departments, for design, for animation, etc. So that would be the main thing. Then also the scale, right? If you have really veteran concept artists, then you get like all the scale and the proportions are correct. Like everything that the concept art, the way it looks, the scale of the arm and the proportion of the arm to the hand, everything matches. But sometimes when you get like inexperienced concept artists and they do a cool concept art, and then you start making it in 3D, it's like, oh man, in the concept, this arm looks like 3 times as long. And then I make it in 3D, and it's like, you know what? If it's 3 times as long, then it would be hitting the ground, and it doesn't match. So I would think the functionality and the proportions and scale would be the things that mostly 3D artists encounter when they have to like start from concept. And with the first part of your question, with the accelerator part of the course, the second part, in the accelerator, because we do projects with other departments, then the video game art student would be working with a concept art student, with an animation student, etc. So you get to collaborate with all these other disciplines like the same way that you would do in a video game studio. So therefore, there you have that experience as well.
Sure, follow. Yeah, exactly. It's in the first when you're studying in your training route, you're studying video game art, or programming, or game design, or animation, or even cinema, or whatever. Later on, when you finish that part, that you are in the same group of people with the same interest, you have to share your knowledge and be in the pipeline in the accelerator program in the last year. So in the accelerator program, we develop teamworks for doing projects, and have to be there different areas, different students from different areas, different branches and we put it inside on the same pipeline in order that you can precisely what you're asking, to interchange knowledge, interchange emotions sometimes, because it's what I was telling before, David. You have to match all the theme in 2D, 3D, and sometimes the process is vice versa. Sometimes when the concept artist is making a draw, and the 3D artist needs another part to visualize this part that is hidden in the first draft. The concept artists have to make another version of the concept art. It's very interesting. It's very exciting at the same time, because the concept artist is doing something very powerful, because it's with the idea of the main concept. But later, the 3D artist is creating into life, is bringing to life all these concepts, and it's very exciting, because sometimes you get unexpected results, and it's even better than the main idea. So it's very interesting, and you have to share in different groups and teams. Sometimes you have to express your idea. You have to fight for your idea. Sometimes you have to hear the others. So this kind of dynamic is what we're interested in offer you, because the thing is to work like in a pipeline, in a professional production company. So of course it's about that. It's about interchange, and sell your idea and sharing in different department. Melon Lover, thanks for the answer. Of course, Melon, thanks to you for getting here. So we appreciate your time and your presence here. And Karien is a brilliant school, brilliant people. Oh, thank you. We hope so. We are trying to do all our best.
That's our link as well. Hi, Karen. Nice to see you again. I'm showcasing our Linka's work, so hope she's doing awesome.
Yeah, nice to see you here online. And Keith, see you guys next year. Yeah, of course. We are for that. And Draw Her, the family can't wait for my next course. Okay, you wanna write us about any kind of question? We are at your disposal to elaborate. Melon Lover is telling us, is asking us, by the way, what language efficiency level do I need to enroll, and in which ways can I improve this level? Do you mean to enroll with us or enroll in a company?
I'm guessing for the school. I mean, that's my guess.
Yeah, well, probably if you're talking about the English. I think, well, in my experience, do you need to have a bachelor degree in history of the language, or from the 19th century? With Lord Byron or William Shakespeare, you have to be an expert in English language. I think you need, a base English, because all the software is in English. You don't need, in my opinion, a very high skills of English. It's not about philosophy. It's about you explain and develop the knowledge all the time. Watching a screen, seeing a screen details of a software. So even If, for instance, you attend to a webinar in Japanese, for instance, and the Japanese instructor is doing things in the software, I think you can follow. So you have any kind of skills in English, I think you can follow a class because it's very visual. It's not about history or So I think you can have by the way, in the admission process, the interview is in English in case you want to study in English. So we have a person who evaluates your level. So it's not a problem. Nicola Meneghetti, I think she's from Italy. We have a lot of students from Italy. Nice place, Italy, nice country. I am an engineer. Thinking about a career change, sure. Is there a possibility to attend courses in part-time manner for working students? Sure, because having the high flex system, you can go. I mean, we have sometimes proposal the student that they tell us, okay, I want to inscribe with you, I want to enroll with you, but I don't have enough time. So we can make a bundle between face-to-face, I mean, go inside the place, and going online. So we have different choices, and we can fit the training into different profiles, student profile. People are students that are working, or even adults, a student that have a family, for instance. So we can fit the training pretty good. So yeah, sure. Eva, do you help the students who come from other countries with the studies fees? Do we have the short science? We have an area of scholarships, so you can apply for that. If you want to talk with the admission department, we can different ways of financing, of scholarships, of different options. And also, in online, it's less expensive, so we can combine even the different options for getting that you can come in. So in our training, so you want to have any kind of question about the things of the money or the tuition prices, you can put in contact with our admission department, and I think they can help you, of course. Michu is asking, I have a computer that I have Ryzen 7 for graphics. Does it work for the program that you told in the webinar, David?
So keep in mind, I mean, it would say, so let me put this again here. So you would need at the very least the Ryzen is the processor, so you need at least a Ryzen 5, Ryzen 7, Intel i5, i7, that doesn't matter. Then you have the RAM. You definitely have at least 16 gigs of RAM. But these two softwares, Painter and Unreal, they really depend on the graphics card. So I would definitely recommend to have at least an NVIDIA that is like from the 1000 series, like a 1060 at the very minimum. Because if you have anything older than that, with these two programs, you're not going to have fun because they're really power intensive. So, I mean, that would be the bare minimum. Of course, if you can have a NVIDIA from the 2000 series that has RTX, that would be great. If you can have 32 gigs of RAM for ZBrush, that would be great as well. But again, the processor is a little bit not that important. It's actually more the RAM and the graphics card.
Sure. Michu is asking, a concept artist and a character artist is also a very interesting question. Have different roles, or could one person do the two works, for example, in a small studio?
So yeah, like I said, it would be very important to define the size of the studio. For example, at EA, when I work at The Sims, it was a big studio. So therefore there was a character concept artist that did all the characters in 2D. And then there was the character artist that made them in 3D. So because it was big, then you would have those two people, right? But if it's a small studio, then you only going to have money for one. And in this case, it's probably going to be the one that makes the character and puts the one that you need that goes into the game. So then you're going to have a character artist, and most likely you're not going to have a concept artist. And it's very rare that you have an artist that is awesome at both. To do characters amazing in 2D and characters amazing in 3D is very rare. So it will be really hard to come by. But in a small studio, you will probably use the only the character artist, not the concept artist.
Sure. In my experience too, when sometimes students tell us, "Wow, I don't know what kind of branch choose for study. I know you should choose animation or a concept art. For the reason we have more years of training. I mean, if you wanna learn several branches, several areas from the industry, it's okay. I mean, you have to you want to study 5 different things, probably it's too much or not, or it's less valuable phase to get a job interview. But if you like character, you like environment, you can study this kind of branches of sector, and if you are prepared for that, you can do it. So nobody have to tell you can't do it. You want to become into a concept artist and a character artist, or when you want to jump into animation, of course. The thing is when you go to a studio, big one or a small one, to focus and apply for a specific role position, because probably you get confused in interview. But you want to do this more things? Okay, yeah, we have students studying 4 different branches, different areas. Studying, for instance, concept art, ZBrush for modeling, video game art for environment, and cinema or animation, of course. But I think if face to a studio, it's very important to develop your role very focused in order to avoid the confusing the interview in the interview. We have here more questions. Egi, do you guys give out a scholarship? Yeah, we have scholarships. You want to apply for that? Okay, you are welcome. Jose BP, which things do you valorate in the mission process? Well, this is secret. It's the main secret. No, I think it's I'm for real. In the mission process, we depend on the area that you want to apply and you want to enroll. We give you a test, different area, different tests, some different things to see how you handle with the branch that you want to enroll. But also, this is very important, the interview with the chief of studies. So in the interview, is for us very important your attitude, more than your cutoff qualification. What we pay attention is in that this kind of training is going to real fit in your interest, and you're going to take advantage of the training, because we're like a family, and you're going to spend several years with us in small groups. So we create a very dynamic, a family dynamic. So we need a student that go to focus, go to the point, have a good attitude. I think the soft skill is very important for us in an interview. But I can't tell you more. You love me, because in every case it's different, But it's very important, the attitude with your own way of drive yourself, So Nicola, okay, great, thanks. Jose, value process. Michu is asking, what is the difference of the roles between a gamer designer and a 3D artist? Sorry, Alejandro, are you from Spain, right? Can I write you in Spanish the email about the... Sure, of course, you can write me in Spanish or in English, whatever. So no problem. You can write me whatever, in whatever language. Well, the different, David, different of the roles between a game designer and a 3D artist.
So in this case, I'm just think of 2 examples, right? For example, at EA at The Sims, game designers would never touch like any 3D software. They would have their own team and they come up with the missions, like how many items the Sims can have. In this case, our game was The Sims Medieval. So they will have to design the missions, the order in which they go, the game flow, the points, the system, etc. So a game designer mostly would be looking at the pages like this one, flowcharts. And for example, if it was a fighting game, they would be looking at like how to balance, the different characters, the different abilities and everything. So a game designer will be focusing on this, okay, and how the game functions. And then a 3D artist would actually make the assets, right? So a 3D artist, like we showed here, it will be doing all these things, right? So actually, they will be working in Maya, in Painter, ZBrush, etc. So they were making those things. But a game designer would focus on all the theory and all the like the flow of the game, the mechanics and everything. So that would be the it's a very big difference. But that would be kind of like mainly, one of them. And again, a game designer usually it would be very responsible for how if you're having fun, it would be the game designer's job if the game is fun or not. If the game is balanced, is the game designer's job. A 3D artist is completely he's irrelevant when it comes to fun, when it comes to balancing, etc. He just makes it look cool, and that's it. But how it functions, that is the game designer's job.
Sure. Yeah, I follow. Yes, David is telling that the game designer is like an architect of the game. So the game designer is like the role involved in thinking about the game, balancing the game. It's like a swing game. It's you try to balance to get the right balance of the to getting pleasure from the for the gaming and the mechanics. Which was telling David to get the final process of the game that later on the 3D artist is going to recreate in a plastic way. So I know we are online. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, now let's to go. Okay, you can you want to review again the way you can do it. We are going to send you the link for you want to check again the webinar. It's okay. Micho Rivadeneira is differentiating for the school. What comment do you ask? Because in the pages said for engineering, you have to take a test. What are the things you demand? And I finished the graphic design. Okay. Yeah. The process of the mission process depends on the area. And we have different tests and different interviews in every. But you don't worry about that. You just go and try it. You don't worry about that because families we take in every student in a very personal way, so it's very customized in every case. And if I want to study something related in video game, if you have no experience in 3D softwares, well, I think he can answer you, David.
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, in the beginning, you don't need any knowledge of 3D. For example, like I said, you start with something very simple. And here I'm just going to show a homework from the student that I have right now. And he had like absolutely no knowledge of 3D. Okay. And this is the mech that he did. So, and again, he had like zero knowledge. And again, he has like the right attitude, to really, try hard and everything. He made this like little like explosive view of his little mech. But again, he had zero knowledge. So do not worry about it, because you'll learn it here. If you already know it, you get better. And if you don't know it, you're gonna learn it.
That's right. It is we in almost all our branches, training branches, we started from level 0 because if you want to become an artist, a 3D artist, you have to start to learning Maya, for instance. So we have start from 0 till the top. Me too. I want to study something related to video games. I have no. Okay. Next question. Thanks for the answer. Okay. Thank you to you, Jose. For example, in Cyberpunk, if the characters have problems in resolution, is the fault of other game designer or the. By the way, we have students that have been working in a Cyberpunk video game. So you can answer back to Michu, David.
So that would be because your question, it could be literally a million things. So it could be the designer's fault, it could be the programmer's fault, it could be the 3D artist's fault. Honestly, it can be, depending on the problem, it could be like many people could be related to that problem. So that's why in this case you have the QA, that is the quality assurance people, that they actually play the game, they find the bugs, and then they report it, and then they find whose fault is it. But it could be like several people. So it's not just one person. It depends on the problem. So there's no easy answer unless you actually know what's happening.
Sure, I have to have into account that when a studio starts a project, they used to have a kind of manual, a kind of instructions to follow, because depending on what platform is going to publish this kind of video games or this video game, you have to have any kind of boundaries or limitation with it, because you have to focus on the technology and the hardware they're going to be export these video games. So it's effectively it's a problem, or it's a thing among different department, because different problems can be here. So it's a problem of everybody, probably, because resolution is part of the hardware, is part of the number of polygons, or or even can be problem with the ZBrush, the sculpting modeler. So of course, it's a pipeline problem. So that's the main meaning. No? The pipeline is the whole problem. So they have to solve in every case. No? Me too. Thanks you guys. Thanks to you for attending, of course. Sorry, we have more questions. So anyway, if you want to be in contact with us, it's okay. So you can write me back or write to the school or whatever. As I said before, we are at your disposal for anything, just for talking or for whatever, so, or have any kind of orientation in your career. So we are completely open for help you. It's kind of important things, I think. Me too. Do you help the students that the graduate will contact for work or recommending? Sure, but I think it's the recommendation I think it's probably a myth, because imagine that my brother or my father was the managing director of the president of Blizzard. If you are not good, you're not going to be working in that company. So the thing is, it's more important than that. Is we explain you how to deal with the companies. I mean, during the training or after the training, you want to apply for any kind of studio. So the things we can help you in, show you how to contact. Before we have a public department. You can be in contact with this department in order that can help you to write a cover letter or whatever. But it's very easy to contact the sector, the industry. It's very easy to do. The thing is, I think more important is to develop a nice reel that we can give you recommendation. Then it's very important to make a very nice reel before applying, that even they apply itself. So, but we can come with us in everything, because it's very easy to contact with the studio. So we are with you in the process, and of course we have friends in the industry, we have companies in the industry, but we prefer to work with everybody, focus on the reality, that means good reels, good work, and and the system of how to connect the industry. It's a system. So the thing is to show you how to connect with the industry, and it's very nice because you are free for applying to any place. So of course we can make recommendation, and we of course we push up, and we help the students because it's our main goal. Every student that get a job in industry or set up their company, for us is our main goal. So make us happy. So of course, yeah. Subhash is asking difference between master and dual master. Very interesting question. The dual master is like you are doing two master, and instead of doing 2 or 3 years of training, you can do it in 2 years. I mean, a dual master is also is affordable. It's more affordable than I study two different master by separate. So dual master is in the same year you have access to content of the two master. So it's a huge work. It's a huge thing, but a lot of people, a lot of students is going for that because in 1 year you can study two areas. I mean, you want to enroll in a dual master of animation and video game art, for instance, instead of doing 2 years plus the accelerator program in the last year, you are studying the same year two areas of knowledge. So in 2 years, the first year you study the two subjects, the two areas in the same year, and the last year you study the accelerator program. So it's faster. So it's intense, but it's interesting. It's more affordable for staying. Lodging, or even just for the price. It's more affordable. So dual master means two areas of knowledge. So you can have finally a two areas of knowledge, and you are going to put that knowledge in the final project in the accelerator program. So you study, for instance, video game art, you're going to work in the video game art department in the accelerator program. But you study video game art and sculpting, for instance, or animation, you have to do both things and put in the final project in the accelerator program. So it's interesting. I don't know if I answered you well or not, but I think this is the difference, or the main difference. So do you have more questions, or you said I think we have a delay of 10-15 seconds between question and answer. Is the technology how it's working? So okay, if you have more, do not have more question, we're going to to finish this webinar. I hope you guys enjoy the webinar. I hope this be a little bit inspiring for you. And I always tell you that you just have to follow your dreams if you want to be in this part of industry and work in these kind of sectors. We are here for that. So you want to tell something more, David? You want to say
No, just
hello?
thank you for stopping by, and I hope you got a good overview about what it is to model and texture for games. And yeah, hope to actually like engage with you later, and like you get to write us, and hopefully I get to see you next, as a student. And I hope you learned something today. So thanks for coming.
To come in, the last question there is Ferreira. Will there be any webinars in the future? Yes, we are doing habitually webinars. So if you are in contact with us, or you are inscribed in our newsletters, you can have access to the new webinars. So of course. So okay, thank you very much for your patience and for attending to this webinar. We are content and see you soon. So bye bye, and thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.